Imagine getting a straight red card just for covering your mouth while talking to an opponent or a referee on the pitch. It sounds absolutely insane, but this was the exact reality football almost faced until UEFA stepped in to block one of the most controversial rule proposals in modern sports history. For months, behind closed doors, football's governing bodies have been locked in a fierce debate about how to handle players who hide their words during heated confrontations. We see it in every single match. A whistle blows, players crowd the referee, and suddenly, everyone has their hands over their mouths like they are sharing state secrets. The proposed solution from some disciplinary committees was radical: treat the act of covering your mouth during a dispute as an automatic red card offense, assuming that if you are hiding your words, you are saying something completely unacceptable. But UEFA has officially rejected this rule, sparking a massive sigh of relief from players and managers, while leaving referees and fans deeply divided. This decision changes everything we thought we knew about how the modern game is policed, and it raises a massive question: is football protecting the emotional intensity of the sport, or is it letting players get away with toxic behavior? To understand why UEFA's rejection of this rule is such a massive deal, we have to look at why players started covering their mouths in the first place. This isn't something from the 1990s or early 2000s. Go back 15 years, and players yelled directly into each other's faces with zero filter. But today, the modern football stadium is a high-tech surveillance zone. There are dozens of ultra-high-definition cameras tracking every single movement on the pitch. Lip readers are literally hired by media outlets and disciplinary panels to decipher exactly what is said during a match. If a player loses their temper and utters an insult, a racial slur, or a threat, it is caught on camera, translated within hours, and turned into a multi-match ban and a public relations nightmare. Covering the mouth became a survival mechanism. It is a tactical tool used by the world's biggest stars to create a private zone in a completely public space. They do it to discuss tactics, they do it to talk trash without getting caught, and they do it to vent their frustration directly to the official. But critics argue that this survival mechanism has created a massive blind spot for integrity. When a player covers their mouth, they can say absolutely anything to a referee or an opponent without fear of video evidence convicting them later. We have seen massive controversies in the Champions League and domestic leagues where players claimed they were racially abused or deeply insulted on the pitch, but because the accused player covered their mouth, VAR and disciplinary committees had zero footage to prove what happened. It became a shield for bad behavior. The proposed rule was designed to shatter that shield. The logic was simple: if you have nothing ugly to hide, you don't need to hide your face. If you cover your mouth during a confrontation, you are automatically presumed to be guilty of offensive language, resulting in an immediate sending off. When this proposal landed on the desks of UEFA's top decision-makers, it sent shockwaves through the football community. Imagine a Champions League final being decided because a player instinctively put his hand to his face during a heated moment. The pushback was immediate and severe. Managers argued that football is a game of raw emotion and high adrenaline. Expecting a player, whose heart rate is at 180 beats per minute, to perfectly monitor their body language while trying to communicate in a stadium packed with 80,000 screaming fans is completely unrealistic. Furthermore, players don't just cover their mouths to hide insults, they do it to protect tactical secrets. If a midfielder wants to tell his defender to change marking assignments, or if a goalkeeper wants to warn a wall during a free kick, they cover their mouths so the opposing bench can't read their strategy. Blurring the line between tactical communication and disciplinary evasion would have turned refereeing into an absolute nightmare. And that is exactly why UEFA ultimately chose to reject the rule. The logistical chaos it would have caused for referees and the video assistant referee system would have broken the flow of the game entirely. Think about how much fans already complain about VAR destroying the rhythm of football. Now imagine adding a rule where VAR has to review every single argument to see if a player's hand brushed against his chin or covered his lips. Was it an intentional cover-up? Was the player just wiping sweat from his face? Was he catching his breath? Referees already have the impossible job of managing 22 millionaire athletes under immense pressure. Forcing officials to become body language experts and lip police would have triggered an unprecedented wave of controversial red cards, turning post-match press conferences into debates about hand placements rather than the actual football played on the pitch. By rejecting this rule, UEFA has chosen to prioritize the flow and traditional nature of the game, but the decision does not come without a cost. The reality is that football still has a massive problem with player behavior and dissent. We regularly see referees surrounded, intimidated, and disrespected on the global stage. By refusing to ban the mouth-covering technique, UEFA has essentially left the door open for players to continue using this loophole. Disciplinary committees are left frustrated because they know that abusive language will continue to go unpunished as long as players can easily conceal their words. It leaves the sport in a strange deadlock where everyone acknowledges the behavior is toxic, but the proposed cure is deemed far worse than the disease. So, where does football go from here? The rejection of this rule proves that governing bodies are terrified of overregulating the sport to the point where it loses its passion. However, the spotlight remains firmly on how player conduct will be managed moving forward. We are already seeing other experiments, like the captain-only dialogue rule tested in recent international tournaments, where only the team captain is allowed to approach the referee to discuss a decision. This seems to be the direction UEFA prefers, managing the crowd around the referee rather than policing the individual micro-movements of a player's hands. The battle over football's disciplinary future is far from over, and as technology continues to evolve, the pressure on players to maintain decorum under the watchful eye of millions will only intensify. This decision by UEFA will undoubtedly shape the intensity and the drama of the upcoming club competitions, ensuring that the raw, unscripted emotion of the game remains intact, for better or for worse. It shows that while football wants to clean up its image, it isn't ready to sacrifice the human element of the sport just yet. But what do you think about this massive decision? Did UEFA make the right call by rejecting this rule to save the game from refereeing chaos? Or do you think players should be forced to show their faces and take accountability for what they say on the pitch? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden rules changing the beautiful game, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave a like on the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss another breakdown of the biggest news in football. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.